Imagine living a life where no one, absolutely no one, not with their rudeness, not with their lies, not even with their disrespect, can shake your peace. Think of walking through the world's chaos with a calm so profound that people wonder if you know something they don't. You still hear the insults, you still see the drama, but they simply don't enter your system. They touch you, but they don't move you. Now, be honest with yourself. How many times have you allowed a single careless comment to ruin your entire day? How many nights have you spent wide awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying an argument, feeling the same anger burn anew, even though the moment has long since become a distant memory? The truth is that most people don't live in peace. They live in reaction. They don't own their emotions own them. One insult, one rejection, one unexpected glance, and their entire internal energy shifts instantly. And this doesn't happen because the world is so powerful, but because they never learned how to take that power back. But what if I told you there is a way to reclaim that power? A truth taught for centuries by Stoicism and confirmed today by neuroscience. You can become emotionally untouchable. Not in a cold or numb way, but untouchable like a mountain in the middle of a storm. The wind can howl, the rain can pour down in a fury, but the mountain does not move. This is the inner strength, the emotional sovereignty that we will begin to unlock today, together. Once you master it, you will never again be thrown off by what someone says. You will never again feel small because of someone else's mood. You will never again be a hostage to the anger or disturbance caused by anyone or anything. In this video, we're not just going to talk about staying calm. We are going to dive deep into the architecture of unshakable peace. We will unveil the principles that will allow you to reshape how you see people, how you handle triggers, and, most importantly, how you master yourself. If this promise of emotional sovereignty resonates with you, do yourself and this channel a favor. Click the like button to help this message reach more people who need it. Subscribe to continue on this journey of inner strengthening and comment "I'm ready" to affirm your commitment. And if you know someone who would also benefit from this piece, share this video. Stay with me, because what we are about to explore has the power to set you free, once and for all. 1. The true origin of your reactions, the inner mirror. The first, and perhaps most profound, shift in perception you need to make to achieve this freedom is to understand this. The cause of your disturbance was never them. You believe it's the way they spoke to you, the disrespectful tone they used, the way they devalued your effort or rolled their eyes at your opinion. That, however, is merely the surface layer of the event, the visible trigger. What truly hurts, what truly ignites, is what these moments awaken within you. Something deeper, older, a resonance from a wound that you may not even know you carry. The acclaimed psychologist Carl Jung articulated this perfectly. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Every time we blame other people for the way we feel, we are doing exactly that, abdicating our responsibility and calling this dynamic fate. We hand over the keys to our emotional state and then wonder why we are constantly driven to places of chaos and disorder. The unshakable truth is that no one can make you feel anything without your active participation. Anger, frustration, resentment, these feelings are not injected into you by others. They are generated by your response to them. And this response is almost entirely shaped by the unresolved parts of yourself that you have been avoiding, perhaps for years. Consider this scenario. Two people face the exact same insult. One of them laughs, shrugs it off, and goes about their day completely unscathed. The other, however, internalizes the offense, stewing over it for hours, maybe days, feeling its weight in every subsequent interaction. The insult itself did not change. It was the same set of words. The fundamental difference was the inner terrain that these words encountered. We are not reacting to what they said or did in the present moment. We are reacting to what their moment touched in us. Old wounds, unspoken expectations, beliefs about ourselves that we have never questioned. Imagine you're in a team meeting, proud of the project you've just presented. You spent sleepless nights, dedicated yourself entirely. At the end, a colleague, perhaps out of envy or simple carelessness, remarks in front of everyone, "It's a good start, but it still needs a lot of polish to be professional." In that instant, the world seems to stop. The praise fades, and all you hear is the criticism. Heat rises to your face. Your heart pounds. Why? Because that sentence wasn't just a sentence. It activated an old wound, an unconscious belief that your effort is never good enough, a memory of childhood where approval was always conditional. The reaction is not proportional to the event. It is proportional to the history that the event reactivated. This unconscious programming is absorbed like second-hand smoke throughout our lives. The quick-tempered anger, the defensiveness, the need to prove something, they were learned, not inherited. No. One is born with a detailed manual that says, when disrespected, flare up. When ignored, crumble. We absorb these reactions from our parents, our culture, our formative experiences. A child who grew up feeling constantly overlooked might become an adult who is hypersensitive to any sign of being disregarded. The pain isn't new. It is a repetition, a mirror reflecting an old pattern. This reaction is not just psychological, it's physiological. Neuroscience shows us that these old wounds create neural pathways in our brain. When a modern trigger resembles an old wound, the brain doesn't distinguish between past and present. It floods the body with the same stress hormones, the same adrenaline that it felt in the original situation. Your racing heart isn't reacting to the coworker. It's reacting to the cellular memory of all the times you felt not good enough. It is the past literally replaying itself in your body. Understanding this is liberating, as it shows the task is not to control the world to avoid triggers, but to heal the original wound so that triggers lose their power. This is the real battlefield, not the conversation, not the coworker, not the partner or the stranger online. The battlefield is entirely within you. As Aristotle said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. And self-knowledge transcends knowing what you like or what your goals are. It's about bravely understanding the places inside you that still hurt, that still seek external approval, and that still believe peace can only come if the outside world behaves in a specific way. Your task is not to change the world, but to understand yourself. It is an invitation to stop looking outward for a culprit and start looking inward for the cause. 2. The power of the pause. Taking back control in the gap of time. Genuine emotional freedom is found not in the absence of triggers, but in the space you learn to create between a trigger and your reaction. It is in this brief but powerful interval that you take back your power. Viktor Frankl, a man who survived unspeakable trauma, captured this essence when he said, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." Most people live without ever noticing this space exists. A critical comment is made, and the verbal defense is immediate. They move from provocation to reaction in the blink of an eye, operating on an emotional autopilot that has been programmed by years of conditioning. Think of the physical sensation. The heart races, the jaw clenches, heat rises in the chest. This is the nervous system in hijack mode, a fight-or-flight response to a perceived threat. Even if the threat is just an opinion or a tone of voice, the pause is the act of interrupting that hijack. It is a conscious act of saying, wait. In that wait, you give your rational brain, the prefrontal cortex, a chance to catch up with your reactive amygdala. The Stoics had a profound understanding of this dynamic. For them, a disturbing emotion was not the initial event itself, the phantasiae, or impression, but our assent to that impression, the katathesis. The offense is not in the insult, but in your judgment that the insult is, in fact, offensive and harmful. The pause is the sacred moment where you can examine the impression before giving your assent to it. You can ask yourself, is this really true? Do I need to accept this impression as reality, or can I simply observe it without merging with it? This is the discipline of the mind in action. To break free from this vicious cycle, you must first stop casting others in the role of villains in your personal story. The change begins with a simple shift in your inner language. Instead of thinking or saying, "They made me feel this way," start affirming to yourself, "Something in me responded to that." This small shift is monumental. It transfers the locus of control back to where it always belonged, inside you. With this new perspective, you begin to ask better questions, questions that lead to growth instead of resentment. Instead of asking, "Why are they so disrespectful?" you ask, "What in me is feeling so disrespected and why? What belief of mine about respect was violated?" Instead of focusing on, "Why does this always happen to me?" you investigate, what unexamined expectation or belief am I clinging to that makes this situation so painful? This last question, what am I clinging to, is a master key. It unlocks the doors to your deepest vulnerabilities. Perhaps you're clinging to the need to be seen as perfect, the expectation that hard work will always be rewarded, or the belief that the people you love will never disappoint you. These are the invisible tethers that bind you to reactivity. The pause gives you time to identify these tethers before they pull you into the emotional abyss. The teachings of Epictetus on focusing only on what is within our control, our thoughts, actions, and beliefs, come alive in this space. The external provocation is not in your control, but your response to it is entirely within your domain. The pause is the portal to access that domain. The people who provoke you the most are, paradoxically, your most valuable teachers. Their actions act like a spotlight, illuminating with surgical precision the places where you are still emotionally attached. When you start using these moments not as battlefields but as mirrors, you stop merely reacting and start evolving. This is not passivity, it is the pinnacle of personal power, the ability to feel the wave of emotion rise and consciously choose not to be swept away by it. 3. The fragility of the ego and freedom from the mask. Much of the emotional pain we carry daily comes not directly from the world's actions, but from the identity we feel obligated to defend within it. This image you've spent years cultivating, the self, that is smart, successful, kind, strong, is not just how you see yourself. It's a contract your ego secretly drafted, filled with rigid clauses that you follow without ever having consciously agreed to them. These invisible clauses govern your reactions. One clause says, "If I am a competent person, I cannot fail or be criticized." So when negative feedback arises, it's not just information, it's a breach of contract, and your ego panics. Another clause might say, "If I am a lovable person, everyone must like me." Thus, when you encounter disapproval or indifference, the pain you feel isn't about the other person, but about the collapse of this internal rule. The problem isn't the event, but its contradiction with the narrative you've built about yourself. This identity, this mask, is not inherently bad. It was born from the need for emotional survival. At some point in your life, you learned that it was safer to present yourself in a certain way than to be authentically you. Perhaps you learned to suppress your anger, to keep the peace at home, or to project unshakable confidence to avoid being seen as weak. The mask helped you navigate a world that isn't always kind to vulnerability. The problem is that, over time, the mask ceased to be a tool and merged with your identity. You forgot where it ended and you began, and now you feel exhausted. This exhaustion is not a sign of weakness. It is the crushing weight of living out of alignment with your true self. The cost of wearing this mask is immense. Beyond the fatigue, there's a subtle loss of authentic connection. People might like the mask you wear, but deep down you know it's not your true self being loved, which leads to a profound sense of loneliness. There is also the low-level anxiety, the constant fear of being found out, that someone will see through the performance and expose the imperfect, vulnerable person underneath. This constant tension drains your vital energy, deepening the Jungian. Psychology, the mask or persona, is often built to hide what Jung called the shadow, the parts of ourselves we reject, repress, and deem unacceptable. If you fear your own anger, you might build a mask of excessive kindness. If you fear your vulnerability, you might create a persona of unbending strength. The problem is that what you resist persists. The repressed anger leaks out in passive-aggressive sarcasm. The denied vulnerability manifests as a fragile need for control. The world's triggers don't irritate you. They threaten to expose your shadow, and the ego fights violently to keep the mask in place. As Jung said, knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. True freedom begins when you are willing to burn the mask. This means asking the hard questions that Socrates encouraged us to ask in his quest for an examined life. Who am I when no one is watching? What do I truly want beyond what I've been told I should want? The answers might destabilize the persona you've built, but what awaits you on the other side is authentic peace. When you stop performing, stop negotiating for belonging, and stop having to prove your worth, you finally become free. You begin to feel loved for who you are, not for the version of yourself you present. 4. Compassion as a counterstrike. Understanding the pain behind the attack. When someone attacks you with words, be it with coldness, sarcasm, or direct aggression, our primary instinct is to defend ourselves or retaliate. We believe that responding with the same energy is a matter of justice or self-respect. However, the most powerful and disarming strategy is not anger or revenge. It is compassion. Not a sentimental compassion or pity, but a clear-sighted and strong compassion that sees through the surface behavior and asks, what must this person be carrying inside to act this way? This shift in perspective is revolutionary. The deeper truth is that, most of the time, people are not attacking you. They are bleeding on you. Their fury, their contempt, their cruelty, these are rarely weapons forged specifically for you. They are symptoms of an unhealed wound within them. Pain has a way of leaking out, and often it splashes onto the people closest simply because they were there. It is crucial to understand that acknowledging someone's pain does not mean excusing or tolerating their harmful behavior. Let's be clear, this perspective is not a call to inaction or an invitation to tolerate abuse. You can and should still set firm boundaries. You can say, it is not acceptable for you to speak to me that way. The difference is that you do it from a place of clarity and self-possession, not from confusion and reactivity. You separate their action from your own self-worth. Their offense does not define you. Compassion, in fact, gives you the stability needed to set a boundary effectively without the contamination of anger or resentment. 2. Retaliate with anger is actually to hand over your power. It means the other person has succeeded in dictating your emotional state. To respond with compassion and a clear boundary is the ultimate act of sovereignty. When you internalize this truth, you stop absorbing their toxic energy. You no longer lie awake at night, replaying the conversation. Their pain ceases to become your story. You see the bitterness in someone's tone and understand that it probably didn't start with you. It's the result of years of disappointments they carry. You see arrogance for what it usually is, a fragile shield for deep insecurity. Imagine a friend who suddenly becomes distant and cold. Your first reaction might be of personal hurt and offense. What did I do? But with compassion, you can pause and ask, I wonder if they're going through something difficult that I don't know about. Pressure at work, a family problem. That question opens the door to a different approach, one that seeks to understand rather than to accuse. This doesn't guarantee the friendship will be saved, but it guarantees you won't react from a place of woundedness, adding more pain to an already complex situation. As Plato wrote, be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. This includes the person who irritates you, the colleague who betrays you, the stranger who insults you. Their battle may look different from yours, but it is there. Responding to pain with more pain only multiplies the suffering in the world. But when you meet pain with clarity and compassion, you break the cycle. You refuse to be dragged into their storm. You remain rooted, and your stability, paradoxically, rattles people more than any insult you could hurl back. This is real power, power over yourself. 5. Life as your personal gym. Using triggers for strength. Most people want to be emotionally strong, but only in theory. They love the idea of being calm, centered, and unbothered. However, when a real trigger shows up, an ignored email, a disrespectful tone of voice, someone cutting them off in traffic, all that imagined strength dissolves. What they don't realize is that they are wasting the best opportunities life gives them to train. You don't build emotional strength by avoiding discomfort. You build it by facing small triggers every single day and choosing not to flinch. Think of the physical body. Muscles don't grow at rest. They grow under resistance and strain. The same principle applies to the mind and even more directly to the emotions. Your triggers are your emotional dumbbells. Every time someone irritates you and you choose to breathe instead of responding, you are doing a rep. Every time you feel that flash of anger, jealousy, or fear, and observe it passing without feeding it, you are rewiring your nervous system. You are building endurance where there used to be panic, and creating space where there used to be only impulse. The ancient Stoics understood this perfectly. They practiced what they called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. This was not an exercise in pessimism or a way to attract bad luck, as some might think. It was a form of psychological vaccine. By contemplating the potential difficulties of the day, a difficult colleague, a project that fails, an unexpected loss, they were not drowning in negativity. On the contrary, they were stripping away the shock and surprise, which are often more painful than the event itself. Think of it like the principle of progressive overload in weightlifting. You don't start by lifting 200 pounds. You start with a weight that challenges you but doesn't break you. As you get stronger, you increase the load. Emotionally, the daily annoyances are your light weights. The traffic, the slow internet, the sarcastic comment, they are low-risk opportunities to practice calm. By mastering your reaction to these small stresses, you build the capacity to handle the heavy weights. A major disappointment, a betrayal, a significant loss. You don't wait for the crisis to start training. You use the peace to prepare for the crisis. Pain is rarely what breaks us. What breaks us is the shock. It's the feeling that this shouldn't be happening. Mental preparation eliminates the element of surprise. You transform every small daily frustration into a training opportunity. Let's create a daily emotional workout plan. Patience press. When stuck in traffic or a slow line, see this as a chance to do sets of deep breathing. Instead of frustration, cultivate stillness. Every minute of waiting is a rep. Ego lift. When someone criticizes you or disagrees with you, resist the impulse to defend yourself immediately. Treat it as an exercise in listening without reacting. Feel the discomfort of your ego being challenged and hold your ground. Detachment. Sprint. When a plan changes at the last minute or something you expected doesn't happen, practice immediately releasing your expectation. See it as a drill for mental agility, adapting to reality instead of fighting it. With each conscious repetition, you become stronger, not by brute force, but by deliberate choice. You stop seeing frustration as a problem and start seeing it as the resistance you need to lift to grow. As Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Emotional excellence follows the same law. If you want to be calm under pressure, you must practice calm in the small moments of daily pressure. The world is not going to go quiet just because you've found your peace. People will continue to interrupt you, misjudge you, act from their own wounds, and fail to meet your expectations. Life will continue to present unexpected challenges, sudden losses, and moments of chaos. The noise will not stop, but if you have mastered the principles we've explored, you will not be shaken. The goal was never to control the waves of life's ocean. The goal was always to learn how to stand firm and balanced within them. The journey from reactivity to emotional mastery is the transition from being a pawn on the chessboard of circumstance to becoming the player. Reacting is fast, defensive, and driven by ego and unexamined pain. Responding is deliberate, conscious, and born from presence and wisdom. When you live from a place of response, the world transforms, not because it has changed, but because you have. The same insult that once burned you now sounds like meaningless static. The same rejection that once would have made you crumble now feels like simple redirection. You lose the compulsive need to prove you are right, to control outcomes, to demand an apology to find closure. You understand that your peace does not depend on everyone's agreement or understanding. This is emotional freedom. You still feel things. You don't become a robot, but the difference is you no longer react from the wound. You respond from the wisdom that was forged through it. This quiet confidence shows up in how you breathe while others are yelling, in your choice for silence over proving your point, and in your ability to walk away, not out of weakness, but because your worth is no longer up for debate. In the end, the world will continue to roar, but your soul will remain silent, not because you are hiding from life, but because you have learned to meet it with awareness, with steadfastness, and with the kind of inner strength that cannot be faked and does not need to be announced. You're no longer triggered, you are trained. You're not reactive, you're responsible for your energy, your choices, your presence. And the people around you will feel that change, not because you've become louder, but because you carry something rare. A stillness that no insult can shatter, and a calm that does not depend on comfort to exist. If you've made it this far, you are no longer a spectator, you are a practitioner. Your journey to emotional mastery has begun. 2. Continue strengthening this skill. Don't forget to leave a like, share this video with those who need this message, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Leave a comment below, sharing the most powerful insight you gained today. Your journey inspires us all. Your journey doesn't end here. To continue sharpening your mind and steadying your spirit, watch the video that appears now on your screen. Continue building the silence that holds true power.